The thing about a game like that one against Buffalo is it doesn't just end when the clock hits 0. It stays on your phone, in your mentions, in the film room the next morning, in that quiet space where you're lying in bed replaying every route, every raid, every decision. And if you're Jonnu Smith, it lives in that one moment where your quarterback is pointing at the grass, blood on his nose, and you know, without anybody saying it, that you weren't where you were supposed to be. Coming into this game, Jonnu wasn't just another name on the depth chart. He was a piece of the plan. The Bills' defense lives in two high shells, disguises looks, squeezes the middle of the field, and a tight end like Jonnu is supposed to be the answer to that. Big, athletic, fast enough to stress the seam, strong enough to chip an edge rusher, smart enough to settle into soft spots. All week it was about timing, spacing, small details. The kind of stuff that sounds boring in practice, but decides games on Sunday. And early on you could see why the staff wanted him involved. There was that quick out on the opening drive where he snapped his route sharp, showed his numbers, and Rodgers fired it in before the corner could even react. Chain moved. Then that little leak into the flat on a play action where he turned upfield, lowered his shoulder, and stole 3 extra yards that weren't really there. It wasn't flashy, but it was the kind of efficiency you need in a tight divisional game. You could feel Rodgers starting to look his way, not just as a safety valve, but as a real option. But Buffalo doesn't let you stay comfortable for long. The pass rush started heating up, the crowd got loud, and every little mistake started to feel heavier. There was a play in the second quarter that kind of foreshadowed what was coming. Jonnu was supposed to sit down in the zone, but he drifted just a step too far inside. Rodgers still completed it, but you could see him clap his hands after the throw, like he knew the timing was off. Small stuff. The kind of thing you fix on the sideline, until it's not small anymore. Then came the drive everyone's going to remember, whether they want to or not. 3rd down, just outside field goal range. Crowd buzzing, game still within reach. The call is designed to beat exactly what Buffalo was showing. Pressure look, single high, linebackers mugged up. Jonnu's job is simple on paper, brutal in reality. Stem vertical, then snap his route at a precise depth and angle, giving Rodgers a window just before the pressure gets home. It's all about being in the exact right space, at the exact right time. At the snap, everything goes into fast forward. The pocket starts to squeeze, the edge rusher wins a half step outside, and Rodgers hits the top of his drop already knowing he's going to Jonnu. But here, where it breaks, Jonnu hesitates for just a beat. Maybe he read the leverage differently, maybe he thought the safety was driving down harder than he was, maybe it was just pure instinct. But instead of snapping his route where it was drawn up, he bends it a yard or two too deep, drifting into traffic. Rodgers doesn't see that in time. He lets it rip to the spot they'd repped all week. The ball travels to where Jonnu should be, not where he is. At the same time, the pass rush finally collapses. Rodgers gets hit as he releases, his body twists awkwardly, and a helmet or forearm catches him right across the bridge of his nose. He goes down, the ball sails high, and for a split second the whole stadium inhales. The pass falls incomplete, just out of reach, and when Rodgers sits up, you see it. Blood running down his face, that stunned, angry look quarterbacks get when they know the play should have been easy. Camera swings back to Jonnu, standing a couple yards away from where the ball hit the turf. No words, just body language. Hands on hips that tiny nod guys give themselves when they know they messed up. As Rodgers jogs toward the sideline, trainers closing in on him with towels, he turns back toward the field and points, not at Jonnu personally, but at that empty patch of grass. That's where you were supposed to be. That's the whole story in one gesture. On the sideline, it hits different. You've got coaches looking at tablets, rewinding the same route from 3 angles. You've got teammates patting Rodgers on the shoulder as he stuffs gauze in his nose. And you've got Jonnu standing there, helmet half off, listening. You can almost hear Rodgers in that moment, not yelling, but doing what veterans do. Look, that route has to be there, that depth, that spot. If I'm throwing before you finish your break, you can't drift. I trust the landmark. You've got to let me trust you. And the thing is that one misstep didn't just cost them a completion. It changed the rhythm of the entire game. Instead of converting and keeping the drive alive, they settle for a long field goal attempt, or worse, punt. Instead of maybe punching it in and making it a one-score game, they hand momentum right back to Buffalo. The Bills do what good teams do, take that opening and slam the door. Long, grinding drive, points on the board, crowd roaring. Suddenly it's not just, we're one play away, it's we're hanging on. But if you watched the whole game, not just the highlight clips, you saw that Jonnu's night wasn't some disaster reel. He had real moments. Solid blocks on the edge that sprung runs, a tough catch in traffic where he got lit up and still held on. Little things that don't trend on social media but mean everything in the locker room. That's the tension with players like him. One mistake can define the narrative, even when the full story is more complicated. Now the big question everyone's asking is, what does this mean for Jonnu Smith's future? Is this the kind of game that gets you buried on the depth chart, or the kind that forces you to level up? If you're in your 20s, you probably know this feeling in your own life, just without millions of people watching. You mess up at work, in a relationship, in school. You miss a deadline, say the wrong thing, zig when you should have zagged, and suddenly it feels like everything hanging off that one moment. That's Jonnu right now, except his mistake is living on loop on every sports show in the country. The truth is, the league doesn't have much sympathy, but it does have a short memory if you respond the right way. For Jonnu, the next few weeks are everything. It's extra time in the film room, repping that same root tree until it's muscle memory. It's building that trust with Rodgers, where the quarterback doesn't just see a tight end on a whiteboard. He feels where Jonnu will be before the break even happens. It's walking back onto that practice field after an ugly loss and asking for the ball again, not hiding from it. Coaches notice who shrinks and who leans in. Quarterbacks definitely notice. If Jonnu responds with sharper routes, cleaner reads, and the same physicality he's always had, this game becomes a turning point instead of a label. The narrative flips from the guy who ran the wrong route to the guy who took a brutal night and used it as fuel. That's how careers survive in this league. That's how they grow. So yeah, this match was costly. It cost them momentum, field position, maybe even playoff leverage. It cost Rodgers a piece of his face and a chunk of his patience. It cost Jonnu some peace of mind and handed him a clip that's going to follow him for a while. But it also gave him something else, something every player says they want until they actually get it, a clear, brutal mirror. Now the question is, why wasn't he on the right route? Who does he decide to be after that point on the grass where he was? Because years from now, when you hear Jonnu Smith's name, this game can either be the moment everything started to fall apart, or the night he quietly decided he was done being almost in the right place and started being exactly where he needed to be.